Welcome to the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 273 of the Super Speedway podcast, recorded Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. Got the right episode this time, James?
Thank God. Good work.
It's always a task to get this podcast started, especially when I'm tired.
Your job every week is to get us off the ground.
Yeah.
And some days it just doesn't happen. But you've been busy, man. You've been chasing hockey teams around and kids, so it's understandable. We'll let you slide.
Yeah, I'm trying to do 2 jobs at once right now. 3, I guess, if you count the podcast. So, it's going.
4. Being a dad's a job, so there you go. There's 4. Might as well keep adding to the total.
Except the kids are at granddad's right now, so I'm not really doing that job at the moment. But it is spring break.
Spring break this week. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I'm tired tonight. I listened to Door Bumper Clear today, or most of it, and Freddie and Brett were both drunk. I feel drunk on this episode, but promise I have not drank anything other than Mountain Dew and water. So, but yeah.
Well, you haven't changed since the day I met you, man.
Right?
Mountain Dews.
Yeah.
Mountain Dews and getting to work.
Yeah.
But, what are you going to do, man? We had a race. We had a weekend. That was a great weekend of racing.
We really had a good weekend of racing for Richmond, James.
Yeah. And Texas, if you want to throw that one in there.
Yeah.
As surprising as that was.
Yeah.
And then F1 tried to just poop the bed the whole weekend. So.
Just right on cue after everybody was talking about how great F1 is versus NASCAR last week.
Yep.
Right on cue.
Yep. They want to be NASCAR so bad they can't even stand themselves.
They do.
Oh my God. That race, I wasn't staying up for it. I'll tell you. Yeah. I enjoy it, but I'm not staying up for it. That ain't happening.
Yeah, I don't know how the time. I'm a U.S. guy, James. I know what time it is in the U.S.
That's right.
That's it. So I thought the race was in the morning, but apparently it was late at night, or maybe in the morning technically. But I saw the tweets about it in the morning on Sunday, and went and looked up the highlights. And just correct me if I'm wrong. The green flag finish, the finish coming off of the safety car was literally from the final turn to the line, right? They didn't run a whole lap.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it.
Yeah.
But they're making up the rules as they go. So
right.
I don't know. They want to do what NASCAR does and finish under green.
Right.
They want to race to the line.
Is that where Brian France went?
Maybe he's undercover at the FIA. But it's
God.
I'm telling you, man. They have a lot of things going their way, but still. It's racing, and as to steal it for a line from Jurassic Park, maybe racing will find a way.
Yeah.
To bother us.
It
always finds a way.
It made me really happy because F1 was a cluster. IndyCar finished under caution.
That's right. Yeah, that happened too. Even though that was a good show.
It was a good show, and NASCAR had a really, it was a very acceptable race at Richmond.
That's right. Yes, it was. It was a good day.
Yeah, it wasn't a barn burner by any means, but for Bristol, for Richmond, lately especially, holy cow, that was. I think Gluck's poll, it was number 2 of all Richmond races since he started doing it. And I would
over 80%.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You really. What else could you ask for? You had crashes, you had natural cautions, you had good strategy.
Comers and goers.
You had comers and goers. You had Denny Hamlin doing Denny Hamlin things and speeding on pit road and wrecking people for no reason in the back of the pack. So yeah, it was a race, man. It was good old Richmond, and
you know what? To add to that list, Eric, we left the weekend and everybody was blaming Ross Chastain.
Right.
So that
no kidding.
So it was a full weekend of NASCAR racing and honest to God, Ross finally didn't do something wrong.
The only thing that's more entertaining than seeing Ross Chastain confused when he is responsible is seeing Ross Chastain confused when he's not responsible.
Yeah. My mom and I was just gonna say, my mom and dad raised me in a way. They said, "Yeah, you are the company that you keep." And Ross is definitely a part of the company that he's been keeping because he gets blamed for no reason now. So
I think it was Noah Lewis asked him about Christopher Bell's comments. Noah Lewis asked Christopher Bell. I think Front Stretch asked Ross Chastain about the comments, and he's got that statue Ross, the concrete Ross, I think they called it on Door Bumper Clear, and he's like, what?
Oh, I love it. I love it, man. I can't, for once I had to look at that and go, that's not Ross's fault.
Right?
98% of the time it's Ross's fault.
When I saw the interview when Christopher Bell called him out, I'm like, are you kidding me, Bell? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Christopher's like that uncool kid who just wants to fit in with everybody else. Everybody else is blaming Ross for stuff. I want to blame him for stuff too.
Yeah, exactly.
That completely. So, we did the thing that we always do. We didn't mention that Kyle Larson won the race.
I was getting there. I was trying to get us back there.
But man, when Bell, that was the big moment of the day because that was Byron's day. Again.
Oh yeah. Kyle Larson's got to be the biggest Christopher Bell fan in the world because Kyle Larson finally was allowed to win a race.
Yeah, and James Small too for his tire strategy.
Yeah, right.
That helped him out too. Yeah, Eric, I know Byron got wiped out there, but he's the championship favorite right now. I feel like every single week now. I think he's finally figured it out.
Well, here's the thing, James. I agree with you, but it's Hendrick in general.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Larson's been right there top two every week. Barring any unforeseen circumstances. Obviously, Byron has been too, barring any, which he finally had it this week. Josh Berry finished freaking second place, which
Bowman's your points leader.
Yeah.
Air quotes. He's your points leader.
I guess doctoring louvers works well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Right?
But yeah,
seriously, they're the class of the field right now. The Hendrick Motorsports is the class of the field. They've got 3 veteran drivers, and then they've got a kid who's just got more talent than what I think any of us saw, except maybe Dale Jr. Not that I doubted Josh Berry, but he certainly has what it takes to be a Cup Series driver. And I think it was Larson said this weekend that he needs to have a Cup ride in the future, and I totally agree. I hope he gets it soon because Josh isn't young as young as some of these guys.
He's a solid veteran, and that they had the benefit of some strategy there late, but he held his position and restarted well. And you got to imagine if Chase Elliott maybe was in that position, that might have been a tighter battle for the win.
Yeah.
But still, regardless, you've seen in good equipment what Josh Berry can do.
So I have a question for you. That's
really cool.
I just thought of.
Yeah, throw it at me.
Could Josh Berry fill a role of Kevin Harvick?
Oh.
He's not a veteran, but he's kind of like a veteran.
Maybe.
Man, if you were Stuart Haas, would you be digging for him right now?
He's that's a good question. I would lean towards probably not.
He'd be one rookie I would consider for that ride, though.
I tell you what, if they got say they got a Truex, I'm just throwing a random name out there. It could be anybody, but let's just use Truex. A Truex type, a guy with a championship. And then you fill Berry in somewhere else in the lineup. I think he'd be like a nice number 2 to come in.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I still say, that, and we're back at the SHR conversation again, but I think we'll have it a lot this year.
Yeah,
you're going to want to put a veteran in there. You're going to want to put a Truex or a Denny or a, somebody. Even we've talked about Corey LaJoie. You want to put somebody that's got experience in there if you can. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to take a rookie and put him in there, somebody new, take somebody who's got the maturity at least of a Josh Berry, and you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the younger driver and you get the the veteran mindset. So I don't know.
Right.
Just interesting.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely earned a seat. It's a really cool story, and like you said, he's not a young man by any means, but Look at the company he's kept now. I mean, he finished behind Larson. He was ahead of Ross and Chris Bell and Harvick. I mean, all those guys are, big names in the sport, and he was there. He led 10 laps. Yep. So pretty darn good day for a guy who's not scoring any points. But if you got to think too, Chase Elliott's just watching his cars go fast and has got to just be itching to get back in. He's
got to be chomping the bit, man.
Because those cars are moving now. They're really really good stable right here.
If he wouldn't have gotten hurt, he's got to have a win by now.
Probably, and maybe you might be thinking a little bit differently about Byron and these guys, but still, I mean, like you said, Eric, just kind of circling back to your main point, it's Hendrick. I really think Byron is having one of those special. It seems like it might be special, and I heard Clint Boyer say this on the broadcast. He even said, I think this kid's going to win 6 or 7 races this year, and I would say if he doesn't win 6 or 7 races, I think that's a disappointment. Because that's just the kind of speed that they've got. He's
got Jimmy Johnson's golden horseshoe right now. Things are just, other than this weekend, things just fall into his lap. Yeah. And when you've got a good car and all that, it helps. And when you're a great driver too, which we know that we've argued all along the way that William Byron is.
Well, even if you have bad luck like he had at COTA last week, he didn't. I say bad luck. They made a couple of mistakes late, lane choices, things like that. And they didn't have the car to win, but they avoided all the trouble and still got a really good finish out of COTA. Yeah. And then this week, you do what you're supposed to do. You win stages and you score a ton of points. So if you do get wrecked late, you still had a really good day and leading over 100 laps and scoring 31 points on the day and a playoff point. I think that's a solid day for anybody, especially the way these guys race late now. It's no holds bar, right, all the way through the field. So, but did you think? So I don't know if we answered this question. Did you think that was Ross's fault at all?
No.
That crash?
No, not even. I was gonna say not even a little bit. And I'll be quick to blame Ross when he does something stupid because he's done plenty of stupid things. But no, I mean he was. Yeah. If he was nowhere near Bell was way closer to William Byron than he was to Ross Chastain. And I think if anything, it was more William Byron's fault than it was Chastain's fault. Yeah. But that's all on Bell. That's all on Bell.
Yeah, Bell, he washed up on him, and unfortunately, it comes down to pit stops, and you lane choice, and then you're shuffled back. Kind of what happened to him at COTA a little bit. He got shuffled back, and that might be the Achilles heel of that team. Now that you think about it here just a little bit, they got to tighten that part of it up, but they've got the speed to make up for it.
Right. Yeah. We've mentioned Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin speeds twice on pit road, screws my pickup majorly because he had a very fast car, and dumps JJ Yeley going into turn 1. Goes on his podcast this week and says that he screwed up. Nothing to gain by wrecking JJ Yeley. Didn't need a caution there. Caution actually hurt him, he said he didn't pit on that caution anyway. What do you think? You buying Denny's explanation, or you think Denny's just gotten smarter in a couple weeks?
Yeah, he's not going to say anything to incriminate himself on the podcast. That was totally his. I retweeted Jeff Gluck and said, tell him to watch it again. Because he bulldozed him. He got pinched off of 4.
Exactly. Yaley pinched him 3 wide in the middle.
Yeah, and he didn't like it. And he let him know about it.
I think so.
Yeah, kind of strange coming from Denny Hamlin, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean the guy. He's been talking about it, and then he goes and whatever, man. I mean, that's Denny.
Man. Yeah,
that's Denny. He's not good at it.
No, he's terrible at it. He really is terrible at it. It's something else, man. It's something to behold. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Let's see here. I wanted to look at this. We had 22 lead changes among 11 drivers in this race, James, for Richmond. Yep. Despite the fact that one of those drivers led 117 laps and another one led 93 of a 400 lap race. Yep. That bodes pretty well for what we saw. I would say that, we were concerned after Phoenix with this aero package, but did NASCAR maybe in the right direction with what they did, you think?
If you can get decent racing at Richmond, you can get decent racing pretty much anywhere.
I mean, I don't think you can ask for more than this at Richmond, right?
No, this was good. The guys had lanes they could run.
Yeah.
And we saw a tire fall off, which I was really happy to see. I think that is what you need to have at a place like Richmond. You got to have tires wearing down. And, we saw, I think, fresh pit stops versus like 60-lap tires was over a second and a half difference on the track. I mean, you could see it. And that's been hard to find. At Richmond's it's been tough, man. We've been kind of spinning our wheels, I guess, for lack of a better term, for a while there. But that was
not spinning their wheels because there's not enough horsepower.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the only way you make it better than what they did is put 300 more horsepower on the cars, but we're not doing that.
Sure, yeah. Then we know that's not going to happen. But I think this was the most passing, I think, since 2016.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since we've seen a decent Richmond race. So I'll take it if they put on. That being said, the race is too long. 400 laps is too long.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's good show. I will take that type of race at Richmond anytime.
Oh yeah.
Anytime.
You won't hear me argue about length of races though, because I want to cut all of them shorter. So.
Yeah, this race could be done in 300 laps. Maybe less. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Why do we run 300 laps at Loudon, but we run 400 laps at Richmond?
I don't know.
It's only what, less than a quarter mile longer or shorter.
Yep.
I mean.
Yep.
Yep. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always wondered why Loudon. I always wondered why Loudon was a 300-mile race. Not that I want to add to it, but why is that one the short race?
Yeah, and then Richmond, we've always been screaming, "Put sealer down, fix it." But we should mention too, Eric. No practice, no qualifying. These guys just went out there and raced.
Yeah.
That played a little bit of a role in this too. Guys trying to feel out the cars.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say yes because I really want practice and qualifying back.
Wow, we've been doing this for so long now. The no practice thing. I'm not super worried about it, but I just, I think that does play a little bit of a role, especially that first stage. I don't think it hurts anything.
I just think that there needs these guys. From a fan standpoint, from a TV standpoint, and from a storyline standpoint, I think these guys need to be on the track more during the weekend. It has nothing to do with them needing more experience. I could care less about that. I mean, I don't want them to have more experience. I don't want them to know what they have on Sunday, but I don't think there's enough buildup of storylines. I mean, we make our fantasy picks every week, and what do you pick your fantasy on, James? You pick your fantasy on what happened last time at that track because you don't learn anything from practice.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you can't do anything off of practice anymore.
Yeah.
Really, unless somebody really stands out on a 10-lap, 15-lap average, you can't really tell what's happening out there with a lot of clarity anyway.
Yeah.
But Eric, one thing I wanted to touch on really quick because I feel like we did him a disservice. But Kyle Larson wins again.
Yeah.
He's won a whole bunch since he's been in that 5 car.
Has.
You know what I like to do when we get to milestone victories?
Okay.
One of my favorite things is looking at the all-time wins list.
Yeah.
And I wanted to throw some names at you. So Kyle Larson, now this is career win number 20, and we remember 2021 finally for him winning 10 races. So he finally got halfway to that monster season. But he breaks a tie with these names: Davey Allison, Hall of Fame. Buddy Baker, Hall of Fame. Greg Biffle, probably going to make the Hall of Fame. He's now 2 ahead of Chase Elliott, Neil Bonnet, Harry Gant, Ryan Newman, Casey Kane. And he is within a couple of wins of the following drivers, I think is fun to keep an eye on. Hall of Famer Terry Labonte with 22. Bobby Labonte with 21, Hall of Famer as well. Benny Parsons, Hall of Famer. And with 23 wins, Ricky Rudd. So a lot of names that we've gotten hold in pretty high regard. Eric, he is in a whole new class now, and he's also 6 wins away from Hall of Famer Dale Earnhardt Jr. If you want to look a little bit further down the road,
right?
So if Larson rips off a handful of wins, so Eric, he's now entered Hall of Fame territory.
Well, he did that when he won his championship.
Well, of course, yes. But when you're looking at the all-time wins list, when you start getting around 20, there's Hall of Famers all in this, all clumped in here. Rex White's in there, Fred Lorenzen's in here.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a nice group. I really, I think very highly of Kyle Larson, and I know he went through some stuff, but he's just a historic driver for our this current generation of drivers. And his win total, he may not get to 50, he may not get to 60 over the course of his career, but in this run with Hendrick Motorsports, it's just such a special, he's just such a special talent, and that team is so special.
Yeah.
And with a substitute crew chief, Kevin Mendring gets his first win with him. You got Kyle Larson, you got a pretty good odds. I mean, you're gonna win.
Yeah, he got to win as a crew chief if you want to say that.
Yes.
We can talk.
We know
about
how
that.
it works.
We can talk about that. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of cool that Mike Joy brought up at the end of the race that it was Ricky Hendrick's, would have been Ricky Hendrick's birthday too, with that paint scheme.
That paint scheme is
being Ricky Hendrick's scheme. So
yep, very cool.
Yeah, that's a cool deal. And yeah, I mean, you and I have talked about Larson on here before. We talk about drivers and where they stand as far as ability and whatnot. Larson is a Tony Stewart to me. Larson is, he's a great Cup Series driver. May not be the greatest Cup Series driver. May not be the greatest right now in the Cup Series, but all around racer. That dude is right up there with the AJ Foyts of the world. He can drive anything with wheels on it and win in it.
Yeah, and it's hard when you look across the Cup Series garage. If you were starting a team, you would have a hard time picking anybody other than him first.
Oh yeah,
you'd have to talk me out of it somehow.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you could. You could throw a whole bunch of names out there: Kyle Busch, William Byron, a whole bunch of them. But he's a step up. I think he's a step above most of the field. Joey Logano's right there with him too.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree with you, James. I think if you were to tell me that you could have your pick of any driver in the Cup Series, first off, who would you take? Yeah. I would probably pick Kyle Larson because he's already proven himself and he's got so much upside left.
Exactly.
He's going to win a lot more races and probably a couple more championships.
Yeah, and I was just, I love the history of the sport, and we're seeing a guy, we're watching, Joey Logano is this way for me. Joey Logano, I think, is underrated. He kind of flies under the radar.
Yeah.
Totally flies under the radar. Larson's got some pizzazz to his career that he just kind of stands out. I just really, I really love the history of the sport, like I said, and just want to see where his career goes. I don't want to, it's something I don't want to take for granted, because I feel like for me personally, and I think a lot of fans are starting to realize this too, as much as we might dislike Kyle Busch at times, we didn't respect, we didn't respect his game at his absolute apex, and the same with Jimmy Johnson.
Oh yeah.
And I envision Kyle Larson in a group like those guys, where you only get one of these guys every 10 years.
Well,
you gotta try to enjoy them.
I don't think Kyle Larson's going to end his career like Jimmy Johnson did before Jimmy even come back this year. Kyle's not going to run two winless seasons at the end of his career. He's not going to stay here long enough to do that.
I don't think so either.
I really see him bowing out when he's I see him almost pulling a Carl Edwards, leaving at the height of his career to go do other things.
Yeah.
No disrespect to NASCAR or anything, but I don't think that this is all. I mean, Kyle said it himself. This isn't all he wants.
Yeah.
So.
He's 30. He's 30 this year. I could see him stretching it maybe to 40. And I think that's a stretch. And I was just gonna say that's a bit of a reach, because he's got other things he's gonna try to do. So.
I would be willing to say that there's probably a pretty decent chance that Kyle Busch outlasts Kyle Larson.
There's a chance, yeah. Kyle could race to 47, and if that's 10 years, I mean, that's 10 years for Kyle. So if Larson's out of here by 40, and that kind of sucks, because we all know that Cup drivers, they hit their peak in their late 30s. So I really hope he does kind of stick around for that part of his career. But if he doesn't, he's going to accomplish everything he needs to at this point. He's already checking them off the list. So, just a cool win. I when he hit that 20th career win, I wanted to look up. Where he was at. 20 wins, 302 career starts. He's got top tens and basically half of all of his career starts. So he's, no matter what, when he was with Ganassi or with Hendrick, he's found a way. So
yeah,
yep, he's on his way again. He's going to be a threat.
Oh, definitely. A couple drivers I wanted to single out. Looking at the results, Michael McDowell continues to be just an underrated, top 10 guy this year. He finishes sixth in this race. He's been running really, really well. Ty Gibbs got a top 10 this weekend, ninth place finish for him.
Third in a row, right?
Yeah.
All ninth place finishes. So yeah, he's showing something.
I expected some good things out of him here, and it's good to see him run well. Chandler Smith finishes 17th. I believe it was his first Cup Series start. Am I correct in that?
Yes, and yeah, he did not get to practice, and he had a hell of a weekend. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but yeah, hell of a race for him. Yep.
So good for him as well. And he had some good insight on Door Bumper Clear this week. He's on the show. So yeah, those guys. I don't know if anybody else really is jumping out at me.
I'd throw Brad Keselowski in there again.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
for him.
That team, Eric, he led again. I mean, I know he only led one lap, but every race except for COTA, he's led at least a lap. So they're consistently finding their way towards the front. It's his third top 10 of the year. So he's starting to. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. But he's starting to find it again, and I hope to see him creeping up a little bit more. I did want to talk about Truex though, really quick.
I'm glad because this is where I was going too.
Yeah. So go ahead, Eric. I'll let you drive that.
Well, he finished 11th.
Start there.
And there was NASCAR and NBC had some audio of him and James Small, not very happy with each other at the end of the race. Truex ran out of tires in this race, and they put scuffs on at the end. And Truex wasn't told they put scuffs on at the end, so he just thought his car sucked. And then James Small came on and said, "Well, you got scuffs on." And he's like, "Well, you got to tell me that. I didn't know that." And so these guys have been bickering a little bit. Kyle Petty, of course, commented on it. Of course, here's
what the has Kyle Petty got to do with this?
But
I'm so glad you got that on the board.
Right,
good work.
But Kyle, hinted at maybe there's a little divorce coming between these two guys, that Truex doesn't respect James Small or doesn't trust James Small the way that he did Cole Pearn, and that maybe it's time to break that up if that trust isn't there. I don't know. It's an interesting concept, especially for somebody who doesn't have a contract signed for next year. Does Truex look somewhere else? Does Truex leave? What are your thoughts on this whole deal?
Yeah, that's man, Eric. We talked about how air quotes again, how Larson, how the Hendrick cars are winning and doing well without their crew chiefs, even though we know how that works.
Right.
But being at the race and having good communication between a driver and a crew chief, we know that yields results for these guys, and to not tell your driver that you're putting scuffs on,
right?
Because Martin is a pretty good driver. He's a champion, so not many of those in the sport.
He's particular though.
Yes, but you could give him a chance to manage the situation. You didn't even give him a chance to manage the situation. Maybe he finishes 11th not knowing, but if you give him a shot, maybe he can hold 6th, 7th. That could mean something towards the end of this season, especially for a team that hasn't won a points race in a long, long time now. It's just, you got to have, and I know, people would say, well, Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus, they bickered all the time. But that was a different type of bickering.
Yeah.
That's not this. Jimmy and Chad, at the end of the day, they trusted each other, and
right.
They fought like an old married couple. But this isn't that. This is like, dude, we gotta work together here. You can't not communicate. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And Truex was my pick for the championship this year. He came off the win at the Coliseum. I thought, they've turned things around. We're going to go to Martinsville here in a couple weeks. And to me, that's the test to see if they've got their crap together or not, because Truex is really good at Martinsville.
Yep.
And we know that the Toyotas have struggled a little bit, but they seem to be back, and obviously ran really well at the Coliseum. So you would argue that if there's any track that the Coliseum is similar to, it's Martinsville. So,
when he ran well here, He
Yeah.
led 56 laps, and they were in the hunt.
Yep.
Again, put scuffs on it, and felt like a rock.
Yep, definitely. So, anything else to Cup race we want to hit on before we move on to the other 2 races of the weekend, James?
No, I think those are the main talking points.
Okay.
good.
NASCAR Xfinity Series was in action the day prior. Chandler Smith, we mentioned, gets his first NASCAR Xfinity Series victory. Good job for Chandler Smith. Great, like you said, great weekend. We had in the Cup race the next day.
Yeah, really great weekend.
I still, I know a lot of money has been put into this Cup car and a lot of time has been put into this Cup car, but I wish they just put them in the scrap heap and run Xfinity cars in the Cup Series, because these Xfinity cars just run good everywhere, James. They're just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they really do.
The
Especially
drivers
these short
love
tracks.
them. They
They've
can
got
race
these cars
them.
down.
They're just good.
Yep, and the cars are just really dialed in right now. Like you said, the drivers can race them. They know the feel for. They got a really good feel for them. Guys have been around for a long time.
Yep.
This is such a cool win. Chandler Smith obviously came through the Kyle Busch pipeline in the Toyota pipeline. He was one of those guys. Corey LaJoie reminds me I should say, of Corey LaJoie. Because he came up and was very much talked about as, being one of those next great talents, and had a little bit of it with Kyle Busch. Never could break through to win the championship, but they started to really crack off some wins last year. And obviously when the Toyota deal went away with Kyle, he switched over to Chevy and went over to Kaulig. So this is a really nice career making move for Chandler Smith. It's a nice breakthrough day. I'd expect him to, I don't know, maybe we got a championship contender on our hands here.
I think we do, and he's put himself in a pretty good position there with Kaulig too, because he's the guy right now that you're looking at for maybe filling AJ Allmendinger's ride in a couple years. Maybe things don't work out with Justin Haley. Maybe he takes that ride over. Chandler's being groomed for that Cup car. Obviously, he ran the Cup race this weekend. He's got a pretty good. He's got a pretty good spot right now to grow with a team that's also growing. That's only a couple years old in the Cup Series, so doing 100%. Really well here. Now he does have to send a letter of thanks to Sammy Smith and his team for managing to not get back on the lead lap, because I really think that Sammy Smith was the car to beat in this race. Led 40 laps before getting a lap down due to pit strategy, and just never could quite get back there. His teammate John Hunter Nemechek was able to do it and ran up to second. So I think, and Sammy was definitely a better car than John Hunter was. So, I think, and I tell you again, this is another one that just, did you see this coming from the ARCA series? Did you expect him to run this well?
I did. Yeah, I didn't. Obviously they got the Phoenix win. So they like the short track program over there. I'd like to see them a little bit better elsewhere. But yeah, this is, what a breakthrough he's having. What an awesome season so far. Like you said, Eric, definitely could have won this one. Led a bunch and just, got away from him. But he's 19. That's a young, pretty young guy. And if the team doesn't bolster him up, you're going to see some of those cracks just from inexperience. But my God, man, his 16th start in the Xfinity Series, and he's, obviously he's got the win. He's running really well.
Is Sammy Smith an argument for maybe skipping the Truck Series for developmental drivers?
He basically, he's raced it once this year, but he doesn't need to. Yeah,
Ty
Gibbs did. Ty Gibbs skipped it.
Yeah, I think you're almost better off doing it, because, and that's, Chandler Smith again was on DBC this week, and he talked a lot about. They asked him, what does he feel he's learned from the Truck Series going into the Xfinity Series? What did he think translated over? And he basically said it taught him how to drive like an a-hole. And because that's how you have to race in the Truck Series. It's all aero. All these mile and a half tracks, it's all aero. It's all riding people's doors. It's all getting in their wake. It's all just driving like a butthead. And you get guys that get stuck in the middle of the pack. We saw it with Haley Deegan when it came up and ran an Xfinity Series and race and ran better than she runs in the Truck Series.
Yep.
I don't know. It's
Ty Gibbs never Ty Gibbs never ran a truck, so that's I just looked it up because I wanted to double check that. So I don't know if that helps your argument or hurts your argument.
No, I mean, yeah, Ty is a butthead in his own aspect. Just it comes with the silver spoon, I think. But he's, I think he's learned. Let's put it this way: he's learned more about driving like a butthead in the Xfinity Series than he ever would have in the Truck Series, because in the Truck Series it would have just brought him success.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
True.
That's why Kyle Busch is so good.
Right? Yeah.
Truck Series.
Yeah.
Here I am saying how I regret not enjoying Kyle Busch's wins
Right.
more, and then I throw out a comment like that. I like to keep people on their toes. They don't know where I stand.
Brandon Jones had a good run at one point. Finished led 24 laps in the day. Third and second in the first two stages, but winds up 21st. They just can't get their crap together over there. I think, I think Brandon proved last year he's a better driver than what, we kind of thought he was. He's certainly the Brandon that we expected at Junior Motorsports before he had his his speed at the end of last season. So,
yep.
I don't know. Anything else in this one?
No, I think that's pretty much.
It was a good race again. I mean,
yeah. Yep.
So, Truck Series was across the country over in Texas, minus their regular spotters because they were in Richmond. That was evidenced when there was a pileup on the front stretch that looked like an ARCA wreck where there's a major impact like 5 minutes after the caution was waived. That was rough. That was a rough incident.
Yeah.
But James, our boy, Carson Hocevar, finally gets himself a win. Of course, he couldn't do it without wrecking the leader.
Yeah. I don't want to throw too much blame on him, but you can't really avoid that.
James, he wrecked the leader. I'm sorry.
I know he did. I know what he did.
I know that he was sideways, but he was saving that truck until the big 42 came plowing through. But Carson finally got his win, so.
And he was pumped.
Speaking of driving like a butthead in the Truck Series, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. He, man, I love it for him. I hope that this is the breakthrough that he's been waiting for. As people know, we root for our Michigan guys around here, but we'll take it, right?
I love the guy.
First
I don't want him to drive like a bonehead, and he's doing it too much. And it's too bad that's
true.
how he gets his win, but
yeah. That's still pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
It's a
he did. I mean, I don't think he had any business to win that race, James. He was nowhere. I mean, he was in the top 5 or whatever, but he was not running with those leaders.
No, he didn't lead. He didn't lead a whole heck of a lot.
No, he led one lap.
So it's not like it was. Yeah, exactly. But he's barely raced the last couple of weeks, I guess. He crashed out at Atlanta, and then he didn't even hardly run at COTA. So to bounce back and get the job done, you gotta be pumped for him. The first one, Eric, you know how these things go.
Oh yeah,
they're either magical or they're a complete mess. So this one seems to be more the opposite way. It's kind of a complete mess, but still magical for him to get it done, and he's got to be, and I hope, Eric, that this is that breakthrough that he needs to, kind of settle in a little bit now and he's becoming more of a veteran in the Truck Series at this point. His third full-time year. So let's see him finish out this season and, maybe crack a few more top 5s and maybe get another win or two here before the season's over.
Just to give you a look at what this day was like for the Truck Series.
Oh God.
Nick Sanchez, won stage 1, won stage 2, led 168 laps of 172.
He was awesome.
Christian Eckes led 2 laps, and Ben Rhodes led 1, and Carson Hocevar led 1, and that was it.
Yeah.
That was your race. Nick Sanchez is all over it, man. That kid is good. He's got a good truck. He's got the KBM power behind him. It's not a KBM truck, but it is a KBM truck. Chase Purdy with the other KBM truck finishes second. Stuart Friesen is he's been decent this year. I know you're a big Stuart Friesen fan, but he's been up there.
He's solid now. Yeah, he's solid now.
And our girl Haley Began got
he's been
6th
around
place,
long
James. Top 10 finish for Haley again.
Yeah, man. Hey, Same things I was saying about Carson Hocevar. You start putting them together here.
Yep.
Let's see a little bit more of it. But man, Nick Sanchez.
Yeah.
What a drive. Unfortunate that he didn't get to finish it off, but I gotta tell you, he has snuck up on me. I know he
I
was
agree.
really good. I know he was really good in the ARCA series. Obviously, he's a champ. But man, holy smokes. I don't know. I was not expecting him to go down, flat out dominate this race.
No, and I mean
That's for
he's
sure.
been right up front for multiple races this season. Still doesn't have the win, but
He'll get there.
he's
Yeah.
only got 4 wins in the ARCA series and three seasons of running over there. Of course, he didn't run a full season any of those seasons in the main ARCA series anyway.
Yes.
He's run some East races as well, so and West races, I guess. So, yeah, I didn't see him coming either. But he's going to win some races this year, that's for sure.
Yeah, he didn't take the Chandler Smith route where I was kind of keeping an eye on him.
Yeah.
Up the ranks, he definitely busts. He's kind of kicked in the door, which I love.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep. I agree. 59 Craftsman Truck Series starts for Carson Hocevar for his first win. Win for Nice Motorsports, good Truck Series team.
Then a win for Michigan.
Yeah.
A win for us.
Yeah, I guess if you want to call it that.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah. With that, we leave Texas Motor Speedway. We leave Richmond Raceway in the background. And we're going to go dirt racing this weekend, James. But first, let's talk some news. Right after we recorded the podcast last week, the next day, Hendrick Motorsports had its appeal. And they lost.
They lost.
They basically won. I mean,
They won, yeah.
They got the points taken away or given back, which is all that they really care about. $400,000. Who gives a crap for Rick Hendrick?
Right.
But those points are a big deal. And NASCAR is pissed, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand. I mean, we don't know their case. We don't know what they presented. But you know, I'm trying to remember. Did Keselowski didn't appeal last year, right?
I don't think they did.
They freaking should have, man, because if I'm Brad Keselowski, if I'm, RFK Motorsports, I am pissed about this because it's cut and dry. This rule is in stone. You don't modify these parts.
Yep. And what we've now learned, and you said it in our group chat, Eric, NASCAR appeals does not like, they do not like points penalties, and they rescind that part of it always,
which is ridiculous.
I'm a little conflicted because part of me, my initial reaction to this was, well, they didn't race with it. Why would you take their points away? I'm fine with financial fine and a suspension for the crew chief. That's fine. I think that's fair.
Yeah, but they only didn't race with it because it was so egregious that they caught it in inspection.
But isn't that the purpose of pre-race inspection?
People have gotten points penalties for that stuff before.
I
mean,
understand
Michael
that.
Waltrip Racing Michael Waltrip Racing had major penalties for jet fuel. I mean, I guess they qualified with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, Hendrick practiced with it.
Yeah. Yep.
So they let him keep them for practice and then made him change them. So
yeah, this is hard because I having big points penalties definitely is a deterrent. But then again, hitting them with big points penalties after a race is also a major deterrent, like what happened to Denny Hamlin at Pocono. So I guess, is that enough? Does that carry enough weight to help kind of keep teams from cheating, or messing with these parts? I don't know if this was I'll never know if this was cheating or not. I'm assuming it wasn't, but again, I could be very misguided on that.
It should be pretty easy. Did they modify the parts or didn't they?
Yes.
I mean, that's it. My problem with this, James, is not that they won the appeal. My problem is that they half won the appeal. Like, it's either right or wrong.
Right. Yeah.
How can you be partially wrong? I don't understand it. It just doesn't make any sense. And unfortunately, NASCAR is not transparent with this stuff anymore, so we won't get to see what the parts were. We won't get to see the appeals process, any of that stuff. We won't know unless somebody talks, and nobody's going to. Now, the one who might talk is Kaulig, because they're going Thursday to have their appeal heard.
Yep.
And they only had one louver out of 4 confiscated, and they received the same penalty. So we'll see what comes of that. I can tell you what, if I'm any of those folks over there, and I don't win this appeal, I am really mad.
I just point over at Hendrick and say, well, how come they blah, 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 right?
Right.
Like my daughters do when they get in trouble.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. I didn't spill the milk.
Yeah.
You both did.
I can't imagine how Kaulig doesn't get it overturned, but we'll see what happens.
If Denny Hamlin walks out of that appeal and he's the only one with a points penalty after all this, I am going to laugh.
No,
I am going to laugh.
Freaking kidding. You mentioned it. Hamlin's appeal is Thursday as well. So we'll finally find out whether he's going to get his points back or not. We've talked pretty ad nauseum about that. I personally think that is one that should be overturned. I think it should be overturned completely. But we'll see what happens with it.
Yep.
I don't know. I do agree that Denny was stupid to say that he did it on purpose, but I think we saw more egregious things this weekend.
Sure.
Didn't Carson Hocevar kind of admit he wrecked the leader to win that race?
Kinda, yeah. Denny's whole thing needs to be rescinded, just because that's a dangerous precedent.
Yeah.
If you're going to start taking what people say and just throwing out points penalties back and forth, I don't think that can be done. We need to knock that off right now.
Yep.
And maybe that's NASCAR's goal. Maybe at the end of the day, NASCAR's like, you know what? We're just going to make you go through the hassle of the media and all this. Whether we lose it or not, we don't care.
Considering the statement they issued after the Hendrick overturning, I don't think that's...
they don't like losing appeals, do they?
That's their goal. Speaking of penalties, the only other news item, Daniel Suarez did receive a penalty for his conduct on pit road at the end of Circuit of the Americas, but he did not receive a points penalty, did not receive a suspension, only a $50,000 fine. And I say that as somebody who would love to have that $50,000. Enough,
so
James?
After his tweet, he's broke now.
Is this enough, or is it? What do you think?
No, this one upsets me.
Yeah.
His butt should have been out.
Yeah, he should have been parked.
I will stand by. I stand by it. I don't care what anybody else says on it. In my heart of hearts, he should have sat.
Yeah.
For what he did.
I think anybody who pulls something with their car on pit road, especially when there's people standing around the car, one person or 1,000
standing there.
Yeah.
And
ridiculous.
He's so unapologetic about it.
Yeah, I know.
He is so unapologetic about it. He learned nothing.
No.
He learned absolutely nothing, and that is exactly the reason I said I want him out.
Yeah.
He needs to sit.
Yep, I agree.
NASCAR screwed that one up.
Yep, I agree.
They screwed that one up.
Of course, you'd have just appealed it and gotten it overturned, so no biggie.
Probably, yeah. Probably won. Yep.
And that's our news this week. Pretty quiet.
Man, I'm checking the Twitters, and I don't see anything else, man.
Yeah, good deal.
So we better get this thing in the can before we get some more news.
Yeah, it is Easter weekend, so so instead of having it off,
nice.
Drivers are going to go to Bristol and race on some dirt Easter Sunday evening, as long as the weather cooperates, which I've heard bad things. So we'll see what happens there. We do get to make our picks though, and as pretty much precedent now, I get to pick first because I like to jinx drivers, and I jinxed Denny Hamlin this week. He still got 27 points. But James picked Kyle Larson with 52 points, and so his lead extended 110 points over me. I think that this new picks setup is stupid. I hate it. It is garbage. And I am going to jinx another driver this weekend. So, James, Bristol Dirt. We've raced Bristol Dirt twice. We've had 2 different winners at Bristol Dirt. The inaugural win went to Joey Logano. Kyle Busch won last year. Those are the only 2. Martin Truex Jr. has led the most laps at Bristol Dirt with 126 laps led. Second is Daniel Suarez with 122.
He almost won that first one.
Yep. Yeah, Tyler Reddick has led 99, and Joey Logano has led 61 laps. Chase Briscoe, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin are the only other drivers to lead laps there. Denny only led 1, so it barely counts. Joey Logano is the only driver to have top 5 finishes in both races at Bristol Dirt. Logano, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, and Tyler Reddick have all placed in the top 10 both races here. Only 12 drivers have completed all the laps here. And Joey Logano has the best average finish here of second at Bristol Dirt. And just because of that, and because Joey deserves to have a bad weekend this weekend, I'm going to pick Joey Logano as my pick for Bristol Dirt this weekend. So sorry, Joey. I apologize in advance, but I'm going with Logano. So there you go, James.
Oh, well done. That was a great preamble. Oh, man. I will, man. Well, I'm not sure. Boy. Yeah, I'm not sure when I'm going to pick him again. So I'll take Chase Briscoe here.
Yeah, I figured that's where you're going. That was he was my third choice because Tyler Reddick looks really, really good here.
Yeah, he's going to be tough. And I haven't used Tyler Reddick yet. So, yeah.
Too late now. You got Chase. Don't be changing.
I know. And infamously, Chase dumped Reddick on the last turn last year and gave Kyle Busch the win.
Yeah.
So, I think he'll have a decent day. I don't know what to do with this race, to be honest with you, Eric. I don't know if the stats even matter.
Yeah, my reasoning for choosing Logano is just I'm not expecting him to win. I'm just expecting him to. He's got 2 top 5s. I'm expecting him to run up front, and that's gonna hopefully get me points. That's my strategy. I need points, James. Mm-hmm. I need points. I debated picking somebody way in the back, but I don't know. I need to take some swings here.
Yep. Yeah, you got to get one.
Because it's not like you've been picking like top-notch drivers every week either. You've still got some good. You've got some guns loaded still.
I do. Yeah, I've got Byron in there. I got Logano in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some good ones. Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott. Oh yeah, I'm Hamlin.
Yeah.
Feeling good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so the way this works, obviously, like you picked Larson and got 8. I picked Larson and got 52.
Right. That's stupid.
I mean, that's kind of, and you don't get another chance at him, and I don't get another chance at him. So that's kind of like, kind of I don't know if there's a strategy there, Eric. I think it's just if you catch him on the right weekend, you get lucky.
Yeah, there's a lot more luck in this, in the way we're doing this, and I mean there is some strategy. Both you and I discussed before we started this that neither of us are really looking too far ahead. I have a couple tracks that I have drivers picked out for. Again, I'll just say it. I'm picking Harvick for Michigan. It's happening. You might as well pencil it in now. I'm probably still going to be behind by that point, so I shouldn't have to worry about it. Oh, and you've already picked him anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yep,
so,
you can't. I can't have him.
Yeah, so I'm picking Harvick for Michigan. Plain as day.
Might as well put him right down there.
Yeah, right. But otherwise, I mean, there's a couple tracks that I've got people picked out for, but for the most part, it's just whatever happens. Yep. So
yeah, there's some luck and there's some like.
We're still only 8 races into the season. Yeah. It's really hard to tell what people are going to do at this point.
Yeah, and I've had leads before in this in the picks, and it doesn't work out for me.
So it can swing pretty quick. I mean, it certainly helps. It certainly helps to win every week, James. But
that's right. Yep. But it does. It does help.
How'd I think I gave you enough time to pull it up? How'd fantasy go this week? I don't even want to talk about that one either.
Yeah, you definitely did. Yeah. So Tandem Draftona takes the win, 216. Freight Train, our buddy Todd there, 213 right off the lead. And right there in third was Team Justin at 210. Eric, I came in 6th. That seems to be my favorite spot, 200. And I had Byron on in my lineup and Denny Hamlin. So, that didn't work out well for me. I did beat our points leader, Barron Speedway. He's 7th. Eric, you were...
I don't have it up. I was like 13th, wasn't I, again?
13th.
Like
yes. Yep.
I like that 13th
overall,
place.
So I'll go. That's right. You like that spot down there. Barron's still in first. He's got a comfy lead, and then Mickey Elliott second, and Tandem Draftona moves into third, and bumps our buddy Ranger down a slot. Eric, you are 7th. I am still 10th overall.
Yeah, but I'm coming back to you.
Climb up the board. Yep. So fantasy is the. Oh man, I'm not looking forward to picking a fantasy team for Bristol.
My anchor has been dropped. I am going backwards.
Oh, okay. Well, come on down. Come join me. Well, we'll just stay there together.
Yeah, you'll be past me before long. Don't worry. It won't take long.
I can't believe I'm still 10th. I just can't quite make up any ground yet. So hopefully, well, I didn't lose any points to the points leader. So That's I guess the moral victory I need.
There you go. Shout outs this week. James, I wanted to shout out, you kind of hinted at it earlier, but I wanted to give a flat out shout out to the IndyCar series this weekend, putting on a spectacular show at Texas Motor Speedway. And the Truck Series race wasn't too bad either. Maybe pump the brakes on blowing that place up. Maybe give it a little bit more time. You think?
Man, we got to have a good NASCAR show there.
So IndyCar had a strategy that for practice, they gave all the teams an extra set of tires to exclusively run the second lane. And I think it helped. They had a second lane, which they have not had at Texas since they started putting that garbage down on the track. So, hey, man, it worked. This was reminiscent, not quite, but reminiscent of the California race that everybody loved that nobody saw from the IndyCar series back in the day when they were pack racing. Scary as hell, man, seeing them do it. But these cars are a lot safer than they used to be, so hopefully that keeps everything together. And, man, we need to run some more ovals with these Indy cars. They really need to be back on some ovals because they put on a great show.
Besides the astronauts, are there more brave people in the entire world than IndyCar drivers on an oval?
I mean, like I said, they're less brave now because at least they got something to protect their heads. But man. No, man, I the speed that they go in these things and they're dipping the left tires in the grass on the front stretch.
Ugh.
Like, oh my God.
No, thank you.
Just insane.
No frickin' thank you, man.
But yeah, it was a hell of a race. Absolutely terrific race. It's a good job for IndyCar to get some momentum heading into getting closer to May and getting ready for the Indy 500.
Yep.
Hopefully they got a good showing out there as well. So always a big fan of the IndyCar. I've actually watched both of the first two IndyCar races this season. That's the first time I've done that in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice.
Yeah,
really
nice. And a great field of cars. They had the biggest field of cars they've had on an oval in several years. I think they had like 28 cars or something to start the race, which is really, really good for IndyCar. So they're on the upswing. Yep. Too bad there weren't very many people in the stands, but they keep putting on good shows. I mean, they'll have a big crowd in Indy, but they keep putting on good shows. Yeah. Maybe they'll beef that back up again, and that'll be good for them. So,
yep.
Any shout-outs, James?
Yeah, I wanted to shout out our good friend, and it was nice to hear him, Larry Mack, in the booth at Fox.
I'm glad you did this one because this was one I wanted to do too.
He was fantastic in the booth. Just really nice. He was solid.
Yeah.
Man, just awesome. Just awesome. He brought insight. He wasn't goofing around. Knew what he was doing. He's tapped into the sport on a day-to-day basis.
Dude is so smart.
Just he's good at TV, man. He's been doing it for freaking 25 years. So what are you going to do, man? It's awesome. I wish he was in the booth every week, to be honest with you.
I love that weekend every season during the Fox schedule when Fox is unable to scrounge somebody together to sit in the booth with Clint Boyer and they pull in Larry Mack. Or Jamie McMurray is another good one. As a matter of fact,
good. Yep.
I'm glad you mentioned it. So there's a YouTube channel, Elite Precision 29, that I stumbled across today that was complaining about the Fox broadcasts, and he had suggestions for the Fox booth. And first of all, the entire video, it's 19 minutes long. It's a great watch. He is spot on with just about everything he says. His argument is that, and we've talked about it a lot here, and I don't want to rip on Fox, but the Fox booth just doesn't work anymore. Mike Joy, as legendary as he is, and as great as he has been, is not the Mike Joy of old anymore. And as much as I hate to say we should pull Mike Joy out of the booth, I think, I could see Mike Joy in like a Chris Myers position, hosting the broadcast. They did that with Ken Squire when Ken Squire moved out of the play-by-play role. I'd love to see that, I think, to keep him involved, but I think it's time for somebody else new in there. Of course, this guy pointed out Alan Bestwick, but Alan Bestwick, 61 years old. Did you know that?
It crept up on me. I did know he was getting up there.
I mean, that's not
really,
to be ageist or anything, but maybe not put Alan in there. But if you could get him. His second suggestion is Adam Alexander, which I think is a great choice. I think Adam Alexander does a good job. And his ideal booth was Adam Alexander, Larry Mack, Jamie Mack, and Kevin Harvick. And I cannot disagree with that. I think that would be a terrific Fox booth.
Yeah, Jamie's solid.
He's really solid. He's got a lot of good insight. Yep. He does great on race day. I always love listening to him talk. He's for somebody. I mean, he's got experience in the car, but it's been a while since he's been in it. But he just explains himself so well. He's so well spoken. And
yep.
As you already said, Larry Mack is terrific. We know Kevin's going to do a good job in the booth. And you know, again, no disrespect to Mike Joy, because I love Mike Joy. I think he's the best that we've probably ever had. And that's saying something from somebody who absolutely loved Bob Jenkins. But
Bob was great.
You know, at times it's time to take a break. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm sure I don't think Fox is going anywhere. I think they're going to be around for a while with this new contract coming. So
I think so. They're not investing in Kevin Harvick just to lose him to somebody else.
No, exactly. So, yep. But anyway, worth a watch. That video is pretty cool. So, any black flags this week, James?
All the people with the Ross Chastain photoshops on Twitter. Come on.
What did I miss? I didn't see the
Ross they just
Chastain
showed.
photoshops.
It's basically what's trending is blame Ross or blame Chastain,
okay.
and they've got him dumping cars in F1.
Oh jeez.
I'm looking at him tearing up the grass in Atlanta Motor Speedway, crashing cars at Silverstone for F1. He was all over the place. Crashing. Just basically, they replaced other car crashes and they put Ross Chastain as the fault.
I think it sounds funny.
Oh, it was for the first day, but it hasn't stopped. So I'm calling a ceasefire. Ceasefire, please. That's it. It was funny though. The first few I saw, but now it's wearing me down. It's wearing me down.
I'm gonna piggyback off of that, and my black flag is gonna go to Christopher Bell for going after Chastain and blaming Chastain for his own poor judgment.
I told you, man. He just wanted to be part of the cool kids.
I think so. I think he was feeling left out, man.
He's feeling left out. He wanted to make fun to Ross,
and Ross. I give Ross credit. You know, the second week in a row, somebody's made a comment about him. And he said, "Well, they didn't say anything to me. Like, why are they not talking to me?"
That's right.
You know, I mean, Bell did really. It was kind of cowardly to take that shot to the media and not say it to Ross. So
yeah,
there you go.
Well, it's cool when everybody else does it, Eric.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Chris Bell. I think he's great.
I'm a
big fan of his. But
super talented, man.
But yeah, you got to take the blame on that one, buddy. Don't just because that one car happened to be around you. Maybe you're nervous with him in your rear view, but he did not cause that accident. So sorry, bud.
Are you saying he's the intimidator?
He could be. I'm telling you, James.
Oh no!
I've argued this already that there was another driver that drove like Ross Chastain, and everybody hated him until they loved him. So
that's my guy.
Yeah,
Swervin' Irvin.
Yeah, right.
He's the one I always think of.
Yeah.
And I'm conflicted as to why
that is
such
funny.
an old
You're
man.
an Ernie Irvin fan, but you hate Ross Chastain.
I know. It makes me question why I'm such an old man. I don't know.
And you know, Ernie was even worse because Ernie.
Oh, he's terrible.
Ernie just flat out said he'd admit he did wrong and he shouldn't have done it, and then he just go do it the next week.
Oh yeah, he was.
At least Chastain owns it.
Yeah. Ross is really good at the dumbfounded look, though.
He is, though.
He's got that. He's got that down.
He
got
is.
that down pretty good.
He is. He pulled that one on me once. I don't remember what I asked him, but I think it was Truck Series. Was he the one that I asked if he was the favorite for the championship, and he gave me a look like, just like you said, stone face. Like it's like, dude,
me?
It made me uncomfortable. It's awkward interviewing him.
But Bob, I can't remember what the.
Don't get me started on Bob. I have some issues with Bob right now. You want me to get me going on Bob?
No, I know what Bob's doing. Bob's doing a thing right now.
Dumbass questions and really pushing people.
He did that. He asked Ross a really dumbass question, and I was like, "Woof, that was awkward." Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know what Bob's doing right now. I think it might have to do with the company he's working for. I'm not liking the Bob I'm seeing right now. I'm a little uncomfortable with the Bob I'm seeing. I know he's your buddy. I know you guys are pals. But I don't want to see Bob go down that road.
I didn't know you were so bothered. I didn't know you were so bothered by him. I wouldn't have brought him up.
I saw a couple clips this weekend, and it bugged me a little bit. It's like, I know he used to go for the easy Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch quotes. He would always do it. He would always be the guy that was trying to get them to say something, and they would call him.
Well, he
on it.
got Kurt Busch suspended.
Yeah.
For that.
So
Kurt Busch said he was going to beat his ass.
Right, but I mean, there's a point of being a hard-nosed journalist, and that's what I've always respected about Bob. And I don't want to bash Bob. I mean, he's like the greatest. But there's an aspect of hard-nosed journalism, and there's the aspect of just trying to sensationalize stuff. And I think he crossed over the line this week on a couple things that I saw, and it bothered me. But hopefully it's not a trend. Hopefully it's just had a bad weekend.
All right, I'll reach out to him and tell him to cool it.
Right.
I'll just Bob, listen, we love you. You just gotta settle down.
I love Bob. He's the hardest working person in motorsports. And hey, man, just let me know if there's lights. That's all I need to know. There are lights at Bristol Dirt, just so you know.
Yeah, well, we're gonna use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man. Yep.
Anything else, James? Are we done?
Let's get out of here. We're good. Before we insult any journalists, we better get out of here.
Right. Well, yeah, I've already done that. So I told you I'm tired. I'm punch drunk right now. So sorry, Bob. I apologize.
Yep.
I apologize. I'll take a nap. I'll make sure I'm well rested for next week, and I won't pick on you. James, where can people find you on social media if they want to talk to you during the week?
At James Cush on Twitter. Still.
Yeah, Bob can tweet me at T Super Speedway on Twitter, or anybody else. If you want to stick up for Bob, go for it. I will back you. Our podcast is on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find the podcast on the Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, and Anchor. Subscribe for new episodes each week. And if you go to anchor.fm/thesuperspeedway, you can leave us an audio message. We might play it on the show. Give us a call. Let us know what you think of Bob and my thoughts on Bob, and tell me I'm wrong. Talk some smack about fantasy. Should be pretty easy. Talk some smack about picks, because I'm terrible at it. All that stuff. It's Easter weekend, James. We're going to look for Easter eggs in the dirt at Bristol Motor Speedway. The Camping World Craftsman Truck Series in action this weekend, as well as the Cup Series on Easter Sunday. We'll be back next week to talk about it all, break it all down, and clean some dirt off. Until then, everybody, let's go racing. I'm so tired, I almost gave your Twitter handle as mine.
Almost. We gotta get you to bed.
So ridiculous. Welcome to episode 272 of the Super Speedway Podcast, recorded Tuesday, March 28th, 2023. See, James, you did the notes, dude.
What did I do?
I opened the wrong damn notes. That's why.
Oh, leave it in.
Oh my God. Holy hell. See, I told you. It's going to be a disaster.
I love how fast you went to blame me.
I know.
Oh, man.
I know. And it's funny because I actually even checked it earlier today and you were right. So
just start it over.
Hey, now the notes look longer. All right. Let's try again.
Put that at the end of the episode. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I probably will.